Hey, Jason.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I am here.
Good evening.
Hey, Pedro.
Hey, Pedro.
Hi, everybody.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Greetings and magnificent salutations.
Greetings, Charlie.
Yeah.
Hey, Tracy.
Hey, Bobby.
Hey, Tracy.
Good evening, Tracy.
Hello, everyone.
Good
Hey, Tracy.
evening.
Hey,
How you feeling tonight?
doing good. Just tired. That's all.
Well, I'm glad you're doing good. That's great news.
Thank you.
All right, as you can see, I'm still messing with all my controls here, but I think we're almost there. Great. We'll be on in just a minute.
Mayor, just checking to see if your Wi-Fi connection is up.
It has come back on. Thanks, Nick.
Yes, sir.
All right, it looks we have everybody on board tonight. Welcome, everybody. Happy Tuesday to all of you. Good to see all of your smiling faces up there, as always. Before we get started, this is the Board of Commissioners meeting, the regular meeting for February 23rd, 2021. But before we start, I'm going to let the Deputy Town Clerk make the statement for us, please. Barbie, it's up to you.
Good evening. I wanted to go over a couple of logistics with relations to this meeting. Your main controls for Zoom are in the bottom left of your screen. Board members and participants, please make sure to mute yourself when you are not talking and keep your camera on as we're streaming to YouTube. In regards to how you will be participating in this meeting, the mayor will be calling on each of you individually to provide comments and votes. When voting, please remember to identify yourself by stating your name and your vote. If you would like to speak at any point during the meeting, please raise your hand and be mindful of your background. If we are in the middle of a presentation and you are raising your hand, but not being called on, please feel free to speak up. Most importantly, we want to make sure board members are able to participate in this meeting fully. If you experience any technical difficulties, please notify me so we can suspend the discussion. Next, we'll need to take the roll call. Please indicate if you are present. Mayor Ron Pappas,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Brenda McMillan,
Present.
Commissioner Ann Simpson,
Present.
Commissioner Jason Hall,
Present.
Commissioner Tracy Westlick,
Present.
Commissioner Pedro Morey.
Present.
Thank you. All members are present. Mayor, I'll turn the meeting over to you.
Very good. Thank you, Barbie. Appreciate that. At this time, we're going to call this meeting to order. So if you would join me for the pledge of allegiance, if you would stand and then afterwards have a moment of silence. And I'll start when we have this screen. We'll start. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good. Thank you, everybody. Okay, I think we're all back in and on. At this time, we're going to take a look at item number 3, adoption of the agenda. Are there any requests for changes to the agenda tonight? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda, and then we'll do the roll call vote on that right after.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Very good. We have a motion to approve. We'll call around. Commissioner Simpson,
Commissioner Simpson, aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Commissioner Hall, aye.
Commissioner Morey,
Commissioner Morey, aye.
Commissioner Westlick,
Commissioner Westlick, aye.
and back to Mayor Pro Tem.
Brenda McMillan, aye.
Very good. Thank you, everyone. So I understand there are no public comments tonight on pertaining to items on this agenda. So we'll move down to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Very good. We'll go around the corner again on this. Commissioner Hall,
Commissioner Hall, aye.
Commissioner Morey,
Commissioner Morey, aye.
Commissioner Westlick,
Commissioner Westlick, aye.
Commissioner Simpson,
Commissioner Simpson, aye.
and Mayor Pro Tem McMillan.
Brenda McMillan, aye.
Very good. The consent agenda is approved as posted. We have no recognitions tonight. We have a presentation. And so I'm going to turn this over to Jeff to start that.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening. With us tonight, we have Mr. Van Harrell, the Union County Tax Administrator, and he's going to give us an update on the revaluation for 2021, and then also a little bit of follow-up on the Lowe's case that has finally seen some finality. Van, go ahead and take it away, sir. Good evening. Hope you're doing well.
I am, thank you. Second meeting tonight. Last one lasted like 20 minutes, so maybe I'd keep this one to 20 as well. So thanks for having me, Mr. Mayor, Council. We're here to just, like as manager said, just to provide an update on the revaluation and to give you some information related to the Lowe's property tax case. Next slide. So just to recap from our last presentation, a couple of high points. The last revaluation in Union County was in 2015. That was a contraction in the tax base for the county. It was a 10% value reduction overall. We were notified by the state in 2018 because of our sales ratio hitting below 85% that we had to do a reappraisal within the next 3 years. Little did we know what 2020 was going to look like at that point in time. But nevertheless, here we are. At the end of 2020, our sales ratio had dropped to 69.81%. So effectively, based on the sample study by the Department of Revenue, we were 30% under market at that point. And North Carolina the significance of that is that North Carolina is a market value assessment state. So and we have the different time periods that we have to do a reappraisal. But we have to keep that ratio as close to market as possible. Next slide. So progress to date, we have effectively completed roughly, if I had to put a percentage on it, 99.99% of this process. We reviewed 104,057 parcels. Of that amount, 96% of those parcels will have some sort of increase in property value during this process. The numbers on this slide represent a county-wide total. We'll go into the Waxhaw numbers here shortly. Overall, the county tax base is increasing 35.6%. So that's right in line with where the sample study was, and that includes commercial and residential. Residential component itself is a 38.5% increase. Again, that is countywide. That does not mean every property is going up 38%. It simply means that the total tax base for real estate market, from a market value standpoint, is 38.5% higher. Some went up more, some went up less. Some of the towns went up significantly more than that. Some went up less than that. So it's a variation. You'll see those numbers in a moment. For the county, the commercial increase was 15%, and our vacant land values increased just under 25%. And that is a component of that 38.5% residential increase. Next slide. Here's a before and after comparison. The 2020 valuation for residential agricultural properties. Again, this is based on 2015 values. Our base was $20,932,000,000. With the new values in effect as of January 1st, that number is $28.9 billion. So it's a good increase there, and that's indicative of the current real estate market. Commercial industrial base went from 2.9 billion to 3.3 billion, for total change of from 23.8 to 32.38. And again, this is market value, so no tax relief has been applied to these properties yet. From a rural land standpoint, just that one component, we highlight that because of the nature of Union County. We are a heavily agricultural county. And if you remember from our last presentation, 46% of our property, of our land in Union County, is still in that agricultural use value program. But the total market value for those properties went from 1.2 to 1.5 billion, which is, while that's a sizable increase, it's still not at the level that we were at in 2008. Just to put that in context, when we did the 2008 reappraisal, that agricultural land piece came in at 2.2 billion. So we're still not at the elevated market from a land standpoint. To show you the difference in the sales ratio with the new values in effect, at the end of 2020, our number was 69.81%. Currently, we're sitting at 99.86%. So we're right on the market, which is where we should be after going through this process. Next slide. From a countywide data standpoint, these are just some statistical measures that show the data quality, the valuation quality. The coefficient of dispersion, if you're familiar with any statistics, is simply the average percentage from the median value. The acceptable range in a mass appraisal revaluation process is a range of 5 to 20%. If you looked at the appraisal neighborhoods around the county, you would see that variation in there. Particularly, the 20% line or range would be your more rural properties that are outside of homogeneous neighborhoods, whereas your subdivisions may be in that more closer to that 5% line. The county as a whole prior to the revaluation was at 18.717%, which is still solid considering we were 6 years out from the last reappraisal. With the new values in effect, we're at 5.6%. So again, we're sitting right on the market, which is where we should be. The price-related differential, these are a little technical, but the price-related differential is a factor related to higher value properties. If you're above 1 in that number, your higher value properties would tend to be overassessed. If you're below 1, they are underassessed. So prior to the revaluation, we were at 0.99 with the new numbers in effect. Our number came in right on 1. So again, we're right on the market where we should be. We're confident in our numbers and our data quality. The median home value in Union County, countywide, went from 196,000 to 293,000. It was kind of a staggering number to look at because that's a significant increase for a median value. Our median square footage is 2,130 square feet. So and you can see the median rate per square foot there based on those numbers. Next slide. Here's the bread and butter of this presentation for Waxhaw. So these are all the municipalities, and we've provided this to the clerk so she can distribute this to the board if you do not have it. So Waxhaw, from a residential standpoint, you had a 38.2% within your town limits increase. You went from 1.8 billion to 2.5 billion from a residential standpoint. Your median home value is higher than, and actually before and after the revaluation, you were higher than the county number. The median home value prior to the reappraisal was 275,000. The new median is 371,000 within the town limits. Your median home size is 2,858 square feet. Comparatively speaking, were you in relation to the rest of the towns in the county? You're right on the county numbers as far as your increase. So I would say you're in the middle. Monroe and Henby Bridge actually had increases in at 58% or higher in their tax base, and that's indicative of the market where the price increases are coming from. Is that $100,000 to $300,000 range home are growing those values are escalating rapidly. The other values, such as in Marvin, you see they had the lowest at 25.6% of a change, because the higher end is not growing as rapidly as the more moderate priced homes. So, but you've got this for your information, and you're free to call us and ask any questions about that at any point in time, and even tonight after the presentation. Next slide. So the trophy of the reappraisal, if you will, is the commercial valuation. Waxhaw actually led the county in increasing commercial valuation. Your commercial value increased by 26% based on the reappraisal cycle. So you're in far better shape than the county as a whole from a commercial standpoint. If you break the county with the new valuation down, we're 89.5% residential at this point. So it's we'd like to see that number shift definitely with a bigger spread than that. Your total median commercial property value went from 154,000 to 255,500. Next slide. The next two slides, if you recall from the last presentation, are related to technology and access. This is our online appeal form that's on the county website. It's on the revaluation website. Taxpayers, all they have to do is, if they want to appeal, is find this form. We make it very easy, and we're sending out some information in the change of assessment notices that will direct them to the appropriate places. When they populate the parcel number there at the top, the property address and owner information will automatically fill in for them. Then they just simply had to fill out the rest of the form, give us the reason they're appealing, and provide their documentation. The second item here is a product called Comper, and that is not a misspelling. That is the name of the product, but it is a comparable sales database that taxpayers can review their property on. Next slide. And this is what it looks like. So this is a sample property at the top. It's a subject property on the top left. And then the list below that are all the sales in that neighborhood that took place within the last 12 to 24 months. And that allows them to, it's just like a MLS type listing. You can go in and select the comparable properties to your house and see the sales prices of that and compare those homes to your value and see if you're in line with what the neighborhood is. Next slide. With that, I will be glad to take any questions and see what we can do for you guys.
Any questions for our presenter? Any hands go up? Man, that's really helpful to have all of that information now at our fingertips. It allows us to, guide us better, allows us to make some better decisions going forward, and certainly confirms that we're probably heading in the right direction that we should be heading. So from my standpoint, I appreciate that's a lot of numbers, a lot of work, and I can appreciate that.
Thank you.
And Van, can you give the board just a real quick, I guess, review of the Lowe's tax relief case as well?
Yes. So back in spring, well, actually, I guess it was late fall of 2019, came to Waxhaw and met with, you had an interim manager at the time, and some of the staff, and we discussed some pending litigation that the county was involved in from a property tax standpoint. This goes back to the 2015 value reappraisal. Lowe's appealed their value with a theory that has become widely debunked. It's called dark store theory. Essentially, what they're arguing is that their property in operation, as it is, sits in Waxhaw today in Indian Trail and Monroe, is no more valuable than if they had shut the business, vacated the property, and it was sitting there empty and cannot be sold. So that's their contention as to how valuable their property is. At the time, the comparable sales that they provided seemed to back that up. Well, as time passed on, a lot of the counties around the state and throughout the country with Lowe's and other big box retailers realized what was happening. They were using deed restricted sales as their comparable sales. And at that point, you exclude that from the valuation process. In 2017, fast forward to 2017, Walmart appealed and said, hey, we're not being treated equitably with Lowe's. We want our values adjusted because we're same situation, same site type business. The Board of Equalization and Review reviewed their case, looked at the Lowe's property, and they said, Walmart, you're right. You're not being treated equitably, but we're not going to drop your value. We're going to bring Lowe's back up to where it should be. And so they increased Lowe's values back to the original tax amount. Of course, Lowe's appealed. The board upheld their own decision, and it went to the Property Tax Commission. Property Tax Commission ruled against the county, said that you're limited on when you can change values in a non-reappraisal year. Said that statute was violated, which it was not, because the board acted in very clear direction in accordance with the statute. Of course, they felt otherwise. The Department of Revenue sided with us. Did not matter. PTC still ruled, made their ruling. The appeals court upheld the PTC ruling, and we asked for we filed a petition for discretionary review at the Supreme Court. With that petition, we had other counties, 8 counties, plus the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, the League of Municipalities, all sided with the counties and filed briefs on our behalf. That was filed in February of 2020. We all know what happened after that. We had the COVID outbreak, things shut down, and it was also happened to be an election year. And 3 of the seats on the Supreme Court were up for election, and they all flipped. The challenge with that is when you have a more conservative leaning court, they are more business friendly as opposed to government friendly. Had we got a ruling prior to the election, I think this case would have been heard, just in all honesty. As it stands, the current court ruled against the county, upheld the appeals court decision. And as such, we all have to refund Lowe's excess property taxes that were paid from 2017 to 2020 with interest. I'm going to pull a spreadsheet up here just so I can see my numbers. So for Waxhaw happened because your store is the newest store in the county. It's actually the most valuable. So the town of Waxhaw's refund is $106,929. That includes interest. We provided all the information to the manager and the staff there at the town, so they should have all that handy for you. In total with the county, between the fire tax districts, the county, the town of Monroe, or city of Monroe, and the town of Indian Trail, Lowe's total refund is just under $900,000. So they're getting a large sum of money back based on this, what we feel is a bad ruling, and they're not acting in good faith from our standpoint. But it is what it is, and we have to abide by it, and that's where we are. Needless to say, their values are pretty much where they were at the beginning of 2015, so we're right back at square one with them with this reval. We have better data, we have better tools at our disposal now, and so we feel like we won't make the same decision twice. I'll put it that way.
Van, do we have a timeline of when that needs to be paid?
So the spreadsheet that I sent you, I believe, at least the one I've got in front of me, shows a payment date as of March 2nd. And here's why the date's critical. So if you pay before then, I can work this spreadsheet, do an adjustment for you to reduce a little bit of your interest cost, because the interest is a daily interest going back to when the tax bill was originally paid. So you forecast the date that you're going to cut the check, and then you add 5 days to that for mail time. So that's what we've done, and the numbers that we have provided, we sent to our attorney in Raleigh. He provided it to the Lowe's attorney in Greensboro. They agreed with the numbers, so we're all set from that standpoint. So I would recommend that you don't cut the check any later than March 2nd, from your standpoint. You should have received, you may not have, a list of releases for the month of February, which that is in there. You probably, actually, you get that at the end of the month, so you do not have that yet. But our board is taking action Monday night to approve the releases from the county standpoint, and we'll cut that check on Tuesday. It's a formality. I mean, it has to be paid, otherwise you're in contempt of court. So, but you'll have your release paperwork later, probably after the 1st of March.
Okay, well, March 2nd, we're not meeting again before that. I don't think I caught that date before. Does our board need to take some formal action then this evening to authorize that?
It probably would not hurt, just so you have it in your records that the board authorized that refund, since it is a sizable refund. So you may want to consider adding that as an agenda item.
How would you recommend we do that, Charlie?
That's going to take a motion by a commissioner to rescind the action taken earlier in the evening to set the agenda and vote to amend the agenda, and then take a vote on what it is you want to amend the agenda to. So it would require 2 votes.
Okay.
Jeff,
Yes.
would it be possible maybe to put this on the next agenda, since we'll be meeting before March 1st? Don't we meet again in 2 weeks? Oh, actually, we don't.
We meet on March 9th.
So let me I can do this real quick. So if you wanted to wait until then, so your meeting is on the 9th.
Yes.
Hang on 1 second. Your current number is 106, 929, 70. If you wait and take action on the 9th, let's see here.
Hey,
So
Charlie, would a emergency meeting be in order?
Well, no, because the emergency meeting requires 6-hour notice.
Okay.
So yes, you could, but I'm not sure this constitutes, the financial aspect would not constitute an emergency unless I saw the money you had left in the entire time.
So the impact to, if you waited until the 9th to approve it, is less than $400.
I would say we wait. It's money in, money out. Properly, don't have to undo everything.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
Piggybacking on what Commissioner indicated, maybe not an emergency meeting, but you could have a special meeting on a 48-hour notice, and the only item on the agenda would be the tax refund.
Yeah, so that maybe that's what I was going for, rather than an emergency, but perhaps a special meeting where we could do this before then.
That requires only a 48-hour notice to hold a special meeting.
Well, I would have a question then on whether or not we have any penalties or just the additional $400. When you look at $400 as opposed to mobilizing everybody and all the time, effort, and energy by the entire staff to do this, is it worth the $400? It's either we keep the money in the bank and get something from it, or we pay them.
I would say we do it on the 9th would be my recommendation.
Jeff,
Right.
we'll get you the additional paperwork for that as well, so you'll have it before that meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thanks for the help with that, Charlie. Ann's got a
That will
question.
work fine. That will
Commissioner
work.
Simpson? Oh, I'm sorry, I stepped on you. Charlie, go ahead.
No, I thought you asked me a question.
No, I was just saying, thanks for your help on that. Guide us through it. Again, as I just said, I think it's worth the $400. It's still on our side of the ledger, and to have to make everybody jump through hoops for $400, it'll cost us more than that to hold another meeting. So let's just keep it going for the 9th, is it? And town manager will make sure that gets on that agenda. I saw Commissioner Simpson's hand up. You have a comment or a question?
I do, and this goes back to kind of the reevaluation. Van, is there a way, because I know we have the residential and then the commercial evaluation, is there a way to stratify that data, like in a pie chart, like who generates the most tax base in terms of county? Is there a way to rank which each municipality is?
So if you look, you're talking about by municipality or within your own municipality?
Well, we are our own municipality. So if you ranked all the municipalities that are on this list, like who generates the majority of the revenue, is there a way to put this into a pie chart or something like that to?
Well,
stratify?
Indian Trail has the highest tax base. They are, I think, let me pull that back up.
To that slide.
Yeah, I have it here. I have it here on my other computer that I'm looking at.
From a municipal perspective,
I think we look like number 3 or 4 in that.
Indian Trail's at 3.9. Weddington is 3.049, and then Waxhaw is 2.5. And that's billion. That's on a residential standpoint. So you're in the top 3.
And then if you added the residential, the commercial with that, then you'd get a total.
Yes. So what I can do, I can send that to you. And looking at commercial, Monroe has the highest commercial because of the airport area, and that's where all the manufacturing is. It may offset. If you add commercial in, they probably, I'm pretty sure they leapfrog everybody.
Yeah, I'd just like to kind of to see some sort of a pie chart, or just see how this breaks down into terms of like what municipality, how the municipalities rank in terms of generating that tax number.
Okay, I can do that, and I'll send that to the manager.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
As far as the notices, we anticipate them hitting the mail next Thursday. We thought it'd be a couple of days sooner than that, but we're trying to make this as clean as possible and put as much information out there as possible in everyone's hands. Our communications team has put together some good inserts. They're going to go along with the notice, and we're also setting up changing our phone structure with the county. The county learned a lot of lessons from the COVID hotlines that they had. And there's some limitations on some telecommunication stuff. So we actually we're taking our main tax office number and setting up a reappraisal hotline based on that number, so that it doesn't jam up the rest of the county's phone system in anticipation of a higher level of appeals and calls. But we're looking forward to talking to the people and working through the process. The hardest part of the work is behind us. So we're moving forward and moving into the next phase.
All right, very good. Any other questions for our guest? All right. Well, I think unless you got anything else for Van?
No, sir.
Good, Van, thank you again very much for your diligence and working with us and providing us all the information all the time. It's again, very, very helpful. And we do look towards you guys to gather this information, and thanks for being there.
Oh, thank you. And anytime, if you have any questions, give us a call.
Great. All right, we'll move down from this here to, there's no public hearings tonight, no old business. We're going to move down to new business. And under new business, we have an ordinance to consider 2021004 to establish a capital project fund for the downtown park project. And I'm going to turn it back over to the town manager, Jeff Wells.
Thank you, Mayor. The town owns a 10-acre property on the south side of downtown that has been developed, or that has been identified by our comprehensive parks master plan as a top priority to develop into a neighborhood park. The board approved the concept plan developed by Benesh at their January 26th regular meeting. Then the board followed up an approval at the February 9th meeting, a contract for Benesh to complete the full design and construction documents. Now staff is requesting that the board approve an ordinance to establish a capital project fund for the downtown park project. This will allow staff to account for all costs associated with the project in one fund, and it would stay in place for the duration of the project. Initially, we were pulling $372,625 from fund balance. This is the amount of the Benesh design contract approved at our last meeting. We will add to this fund as we need to as the project progresses, but this should get us to the fall when we will need to add more to the fund for construction of phase one. Then, of course, we'll have the ability, if we so choose, to reimburse these, a portion of or all of these costs back to us in phase two of the project when we're looking to finance it. Staff recommends approval of ordinance 2021-004, and I'll certainly be happy to answer any questions if you have them. Thank you.
Very good. Any questions for the town manager? Seeing none on this one, it seems pretty simple. This is just basically establishing the line item for us to draw from. So the request is for the motion to approve the capital project fund ordinance. So do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion. I make the motion to approve the capital project fund ordinance number 2021004, allowing the town to manage the expenditures of the downtown park project in one fund for better record keeping.
Very good. We have the motion up. Any discussion further? A roll call vote. We'll start with the Mayor Pro Tem.
Brenda McMillan, aye.
Commissioner Morey.
Morey, aye.
Commissioner Westlake.
Commissioner Westlake, aye.
Commissioner Hall.
Commissioner Hall, aye.
And to Commissioner Simpson.
Commissioner Simpson, aye.
Very good. Thank you, everybody, for that. We're again moving closer to the goal line. So this just gives us a better chance to have better record keeping and some recognition and a way to track it. So thank you very much for all the work that went in before this. And of course, ratified over at the retreat. And then now again, today's action will give us some highlighting. So thank you very much for that. Okay, next one up is we have item number 2 under H is the ordinance 2021003 establishing stop and yield intersections. We'd like to have Theo, our staff engineer, join us. And Theo, we're going to turn the floor over to you, please.
Hey, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Tonight, we'll discuss a new ordinance relating to stop and yield controlled intersections on the town road network. Next slide, please. The history behind the need for the new ordinance is that during the process of adding new streets to the town network, it was noticed that there is no ordinance for stop sign regulations as exists for speed limits. A new ordinance is needed to establish enforcement legislation for stop controlled intersections. Chapter 66, Article 3, entitled Traffic Regulations in the Town Ordinance, is where ordinances exist for governing traffic on the town street system. Next slide, please. To establish an accurate inventory of existing stop signs, a GIS map was created along with a list of locations that will be incorporated into the new ordinance. The stop sign conditions were also recorded during the process for internal staff purposes, and signs that were damaged were replaced and any that were dirty were cleaned. And I would like to thank Aiden Cohen, our intern, she's the one that put the map and the list together. Next slide, please. The new proposed ordinance is Chapter 66, Article 3, Section 66-61, stop and yield intersections. And that new ordinance will establish the stop and yield controlled intersections, and staff recommends approval of Section 66-61 entitled Stop and Yield Intersections be added to the Town Code of Ordinances. Next slide. Are there any questions about the new proposed ordinance?
So as I'm seeing this, Theo, this is basically a cleanup and establishing an ordinance that wasn't in place before.
That's correct.
That's a lot of signs.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Any other questions for Theo across the board here? All right, I don't see any hands up on this one, so I'm going to look for a motion from the floor. And all race to the front.
I'll make a motion to approve amendments to Chapter 66 Traffic, Article 3, traffic regulations in Section 66-61 for stopping and intersections that will establish stopping and intersections.
Very good. We have a motion on the floor to approve ordinance 2021-003. Any other discussion? All right, roll call vote. I'll start with Commissioner Simpson.
Commissioner Simpson, aye.
Commissioner Westlake,
Commissioner Westlake, aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Commissioner Hall, aye.
Commissioner Morey,
Commissioner Maury, aye.
Mayor Pro Tem McMillan.
Brenda McMillan, aye.
Very good. Motion is passed unanimously. Thank you, Theo, for putting all this together, and thank our intern for doing all the mapping. That's a lot of work to do that. So thank you again very much, and congratulations to the team. One more down. So thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right, next item is item number 3, consideration of resolution 2021-005 in support of establishing clear authority for making electronic meetings permanent. And of course, I'm going to let that go. This is our presenter, will be our town attorney, Charlie Buckley. If you could explain for us the thought behind this one.
Well, I've been here about 3 years, and this is the first time I get to say this. Good evening, Mayor and members of the board. How are you this evening?
Outstanding. Well, step up. We're going to have more for you.
Now that I've said that, tonight, it's a little bit of history here. It's an historical moment. Actually, I've been doing municipal law for 52 years this summer, and this is the first time I've seen where statewide legislation is going the route that we're doing this evening. And that is, normally when municipalities seek legislation, it's usually local legislation that would apply only to them or one or two or a few. So it's a local legislation, and you just make your presentation to your local delegation that Waxhaw would want X, Y, Z. Well, during the last several months during the pandemic, the network of municipal attorneys has kind of evolved, which I'm a part of. Every time the governor's order would come out, what the difference was and where we are now with the governor's order. Well, about 3 weeks ago, one of the attorneys indicated that they were approaching their delegation across the state. They were going to approach their delegation about some legislation that would, in effect, be statewide, and that what they were seeking was an amendment to the existing Chapter 166, the Emergency Management Act. Then that amendment would be created to allow local authority to have electronic meetings. And why do we want the amendment? Right now, under the pandemic, the General Assembly adopted legislation under that 166 that we could have electronic meetings citywide, or city governments could have them, or any other board or any state agency during the pandemic, if there had been a declaration by the governor of a state of emergency or by the General Assembly. Well, in discussing all of this and the governor's orders, we realize that somewhere in the hopefully near future, but probably somewhere within the next two, maybe at least within the next 6 to 8 months, maybe the governor would repeal his declaration of emergency. So a community in North Carolina decided that they would seek statewide legislation to make local authority and to give local authority to be able to have virtual meetings if there was a declaration of emergency in their community, or for instance, it could be either by Waxhaw or it could be by, say, Union County Board of Commissioners. It impacted Waxhaw. So there would be some local need to have this legislation so that you could have a virtual meeting. One of the illustrations would be, suppose a train wreck occurred in downtown Waxhaw that created a dramatic casualty situation and threw the whole community in a state of need of a declaration of emergency, and it lasted for several weeks. And in that time period, the board needed to meet. Well, and because of the disaster and the railroad tracks being blocked and whatever, it just would not be very good to try to have an in-person meeting. That's just an illustration. So what is the history here? Normally, statewide legislation is presented to by the League of Municipalities to the legislature. They present their legislative package. Well, their legislative package was already presented to the legislature back in January. So we've lost that opportunity. So all these communities around the state now are going back and asking their delegation to recommend to put in legislation that would give local authority for a declaration, if a declaration of emergency had been issued by someone other than the governor and the General Assembly, so that they then could have a virtual meeting if it was feasible to do that, or if it was realistic to do that. So various attorneys around in this network have been presenting that to their communities, and their communities are taking it to their local delegation. Well, the city of Monroe has taken the lead and said they will present it to the Union County delegation to seek this authority for our municipalities. And so they are moving forward with it and have asked other local units within Union County if they would join in with them. And that's the purpose of this resolution this evening, stating that what we would like to see the delegation support legislation that would give local authority to make local determinations under the Emergency Management Act, not just to open in to be able to have a meeting virtually, but under a declaration of emergency other than by the governor or by the General Assembly. Monroe is moving forward. I do know that Fairview has already joined in with the town, with the city of Monroe to seek that legislation. And so this resolution tonight is to put it down into its Reader's Digest terms. You're just going to support Monroe's effort and Union County's municipalities in seeking the Union County legislators to support or introduce legislation for this statewide bill that would amend the Emergency Management Act. And that's as concise as probably should be. I'm open for questions.
Any
Charlie, I
questions?
have a question.
Yes, sir.
We'll go with Commissioner Morey first, then we'll flip up to Mayor Pro Tem.
We'll go with Commissioner McMillan, please.
Okay, since I have a idea as to Commissioner Morey's question with regard to the resolution. Within this resolution, there is some vagueness where it says that it is at the discretion of the municipalities as to when to call these virtual meetings. So since this resolution itself is something that is being done by all the municipalities as a whole, would it be best for the town of Waxhaw to address any changes or specifications within their rules of procedure regarding virtual meetings? In essence, since we don't have anything in there regarding virtual meetings, as it stands right now?
Well, if the legislation is adopted and if local authority is given, then yes, we would have to amend our local procedures internally that you already have on the books, yes.
Okay, so as far as the resolution itself, even in passing the resolution tonight, if we adopt this to move forward with that, then it would still come back to us and we would have that option to update our rules of procedure to include any specifications that we as a board may need to put in there regarding virtual meetings.
That's correct. See, right now, we have no idea if the General Assembly would ever introduce this, and much less what the amendment would look like. We do know, though, what is being sought is amendment to the Emergency Management Act, not just an open-end virtual meeting authority, but only under a state of emergency. Just someone other than the governor and or the General Assembly that declared it. And so, yes, then local procedures would have to be adopted or amended to identify when it is that we would have our own virtual meeting opportunity.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
Mr.
Charlie,
Moran?
I agree and I understand what Commissioner McMillan is saying. And as I said, that I agree with it to the point where if we're going to go forward with this particular resolution, going forward, I feel that we should be as specific as possible from go. This resolution will carry to Monroe, and it might give an impression that we're fine with it as written. I think that if this ends up on some desk over in Raleigh for action, it should note that the town of Waxhaw specifies that it would be under, as you said, the legislature's direction that it's going to require some sort of emergency or act other than the General Assembly or the governor.
Well, that's what's being recommended is an amendment to Chapter 166 Emergency Management Act. So it would be limited to an emergency management situation where there has been some declaration. Yes, that's inherent in this.
That's inherent in the resolution. If I can interject, that is inherent in the resolution, as Charlie said. Then any additional specifications, then we as a town and Board of Commissioners would put that in our own rules of procedure as it applies to the town of Waxhaw. Since this resolution is something that is being incorporated by a number of different municipalities, for us to put our own specifications in the resolution then changes the entire resolution. So if you look at the Emergency Act, that is what's being covered and that is what is being addressed in the resolution. Any additional specifications pertaining to us go in our rules of procedure, so it's our governing body for our town.
Well, the legislation itself, if it passes, I'm sure would be so specific that it would identify when you may have that if it is approved.
I understand it, Charlie. I just feel that from go, it should be more specific.
Well, again, we have to look at one comment here that I have. This is a resolution in support of the establishment of this type of electronic meeting resolution. So again, this is not the resolution itself. That is another step, but this is a resolution solely in support of moving forward to create the establishment of these resolutions going forward.
It's just going to be a tool that Monroe will have and the Union County municipalities that we are in support of local authority to make these decisions. So that's basically what it is a local authority. And once you have that authority, whatever it is the General Assembly may give you, then you can do within your own procedures and your own policies how you want to implement it or when you want to implement it, if you want to implement it.
So this is then just a step in the process and moving forward so that we can move forward with this step and then see what happens at the next level.
Correct.
Charlie,
Yes.
just so I just want to make sure that I'm clear here because it gets very confusing. So the resolution that is before us is just a resolution giving of support. So that's sort of Waxhaw giving their blessing for Monroe to approach the Union County delegation to ask them to consider passing legislation which would allow municipalities the autonomy to use virtual meetings in the event of a municipal state of emergency, if you will. So right now, currently under the law, if we weren't in a state of emergency and we had one here, like you said, a problem with the train that created chaos or a tornado or some sort of event, we could not conduct virtual meetings because we haven't been granted that authority by the state to do so. Is that correct?
That's correct. The only
So-
current authority is if it's a governor or a general assembly declared declaration.
So right now, the town of Waxhaw, if we had an emergency, we could not conduct without getting permission, without having a state of emergency or being granted by the state legislature the ability or capability to have a virtual meeting.
That's correct.
So that's all that we're asking is for the municipalities to have that autonomy decision-making, to have that in the event of an emergency in their local jurisdiction.
That's correct. Local authority to make that decision.
And we're just, and this resolution here is just saying we support Monroe's effort to make that request of the legislature.
That's all it is.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. All right. Well, any other questions to the town attorney? All right. So I'm going to look for a motion from the floor again, please. Someone?
I'll make the motion. Since I find the motion. I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2021005, supporting the effort to establish clear authority for electronic meetings, permanent and usable at the discretion of local governments.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any further discussion on that before we go into a roll call vote? All right, I'm going to start with Commissioner Simpson.
Commissioner Simpson, aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Commissioner Hall, aye.
Commissioner Westlake,
Commissioner Westlake, aye.
Commissioner Morey,
Commissioner Morey, aye.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Brenda McMillan, aye.
Very good. Thank you, everyone, for that. Lengthy discussion on the support, but we wanted to be clear on it. So thank you for all of your input, and we will look forward to this going to the next steps. And we will then look for your assistance, Charlie, in crafting that next resolution.
Well, right now, we just notified Monroe that we are in support of their efforts. That's all we
correct.
do at this point.
That's correct.
And I'll do that either tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon.
All right, not a problem. And I was speaking to further on, if this gets to the next step,
yes.
then obviously we would craft that resolution and changes to our local rules. So
Correct.
again, thank you, everybody. I appreciate that.
Thank you, everybody.
And is this a first for you, Charlie? First kind of presentation?
Yes, that's why I said that. It's been almost 3 years and I finally get to say, good evening, Mayor and members of the Board of Commissioners.
Welcome to the club.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, so tonight we are moving down to there are no general public comments. So I'm going to drop down to the town leadership reports, and I'll start off with Town Manager Jeff Wells.
Thank you, Mayor. And just really one quick note, just wanted to share some positive news, and this is straight off of Union County's dashboard on their website, the public health. We are now down below 8% for positive tests, positive COVID tests. I think that's very good news. Of course, we've been up in the 20% range over the holidays. Very good news is we're over 20,000 people in the county vaccinated. The specific number, at least as of this morning, was 21,044 vaccinated, with 16 hospitalizations, which of course any number is too high, but that is encouraging that at least the numbers are doing a lot better right now. And so, you know, as we continue to move forward and more people get vaccinated in the county, it's only going to get better and better. I just wanted to make sure that anybody out there that was listening knew where we stood right now based on county's public health information. Thank you.
Very good. Well, thank you for that. We'll move down to Parks and Rec, Director Dina. Dina, welcome again this evening.
Hello,
Floor is yours.
thank you. All right, I'm going to go over what's going on in Park and Rec and on our future projects. So go. As right now, we're in our program guide that is going to end in March, and then we'll have a new one coming up in April to June. But always please register on our Rec Desk application to help get to our programs and our events. Our fitness programs are greatly sought after. We are having new people come into the walking club almost every Tuesday and Thursday. So please join Miss Amy and at 8 a.m. at the McDonald House to have a brisk stroll through downtown Waxhaw. So we'd love to have you. Our Senior Fit Club will start up in March, and that's going to be outside at our Town Creek Park. Signups are happening now, so we'd love to have you a part of that. Upcoming programs, we have a family pottery wheel night. That's one of my loves. So I love getting my hands dirty and playing in the clay. Please join us for that. I'll probably be helping out with that program as well. Our charcuterie class, our February class that's actually this Thursday, is full. And we just filled up on our March 25th. So we are going to add more classes coming up in April and May. So look forward for those classes. So this is Dear to Me, our hero project. You're looking at some of the photos from last week's event. Tomorrow we have a skate event where they bring your scooters and your skateboard, and we are doing friendship rocks. So we'd love to have our families come out at 2:30 tomorrow at the skate park. Next week, we're doing a nod to Dr. Seuss. So come and join us for a magical time talking about all the wonderful books that Dr. Seuss did. Upcoming events, March 12th is our movie night. It's going to be a drive-in movie, and we're watching Hop. So please, sign-ups already started, as well as all the other events that you see on here. So again, go to Rec Desk and go ahead and sign up for awesome, cool events that are coming near you soon. And just give you an update on the park. So tonight is another one of those checkoff items that we needed to get us on the road to getting our park. So we started our checklist for part of the team. We are meeting on Thursday, the internal team. So that's really exciting that that's moving forward. The survey's happening, the soil testing's happening. I'm interviewing playground and fitness amenity vendors right now. So it is moving fast pace, and so soon I'll have some updates on some of those amenities so you can see the look and feel of what our new park's going to be. So exciting times. I am happy to announce that this past week we had a business that is going to sponsor a space. So Reinhardt Realties is going to sponsor the McDonald House grounds. So we're really excited. It's our first one. And they're going to be in charge of helping keeping the grounds nice and tidy and helping out with the plantings and the mulch. So it's a wonderful community involvement when we have our businesses and our citizens helping keeping our community spaces top notch. So I wanted to give a shout out, say thank you. And then after we'll do a photo op. So I'll have that in a presentation later on in a future meeting. But again, this is one of those wonderful ways to be a part of your community. So please contact me and we would love for you to sponsor a space. We also are looking for community partners. So with the new program guide coming out in April, we are looking for partners with businesses. If you are an instructor of any kind, please come in contact with us. We want to partner with especially our local businesses and instructors. So we're, sharing the love. So please come in contact with us. And we're looking for awesome new ideas as well. So if you have a cool idea for a program or a small event, this is the office you need to come contact. As always, we are being very proactive with our cleaning and our COVID protocol. And we are definitely keeping all of our signage up to date within the park system and following all the governor's rules in our programs and events. And as always, I leave you with our vision and mission. And if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer those.
Any questions for Miss Dina? All right, I bet you're still really excited moving forward on all this stuff. So again, congratulations to you and your team for putting all that effort in place. So one step at a time, one foot in front of the other.
Right.
So thank you very much for that. Great, we'll drop it down to the next one if you would here on the Board of Commissioners. Any comments, thoughts from any of the commissioners?
Excuse me, Mayor, could the board go back and revisit H1 and approve the budget amendment? That requires a second motion on that item.
H1.
That would be for the ordinance.
Capital Project Fund.
Downtown park project.
Okay, only had on here one. Do we require two? Is that the protocol?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It would be a motion to adopt the budget amendment, creating the budget for the downtown park project.
Charlie, you want to help us back up on this one? Charlie, that was two. Do you want to help us back up on this one? The protocol?
I would just simply, somebody make the motion right now and just do that before you adjourn.
Okay, so we don't have to go back and revisit and leave it under, do we have to go back and revisit new business or can we do it from here?
I would just simply just do it right now. Just make the motion to approve it.
Very good.
I guess it's one of those technical motions that requires to be adopted or to be approved twice.
So
Okay, I'll make the motion if someone just wants to give me the language.
It would be motion to adopt the budget amendment, creating the budget for the downtown park project.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to adopt the amendment to make
The budget amendment,
the budget amendment for the downtown park.
very good. All right, if that will suffice, then any questions, thoughts, discussions on that before we do the roll call vote? All right, let's go around and get this one in the bag here. Commissioner Morey.
Commissioner Moore, aye.
Westlick,
Commissioner Westlick, aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Commissioner Hall, aye.
Commissioner Simpson,
Commissioner Simpson, aye.
and Mayor Pro Tem.
Brenda McMillan, aye.
Very good. All right, well, thanks for that cleanup, Barbie. Good catch on that.
Thank you.
Make sure we'll just write that into the order of business next time. But let's go back to item J3 then. Any other comments from any other commissioners? All right, seeing that there are no hands raised, I have one here that an announcement. We're going to have another virtual town hall actually, on Tuesday, March 16th at Five Stones Church from 6 to 7:30 p.m. So again, that's a virtual town hall. And it'll be my town hall. And it's Tuesday, March 16th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. And it's at Five Stones, and you can sign up the way we did last time. It'll be a bit of a hybrid. Some people will be allowed in based on the available space, and the rest will be broadcast. And if I'm not incorrect on this, town clerks, we can do this. They can sign up with you, and then we will adjust. And the announcement, I guess, will go out after this announcement today. It'll go out on our website. So it'll give more information on how to sign up, but it'll come through you guys as it did last time. And there'll be some available slots, and then the rest can be virtual. So, all right, well, that's my announcement for tonight anyway. So we'll move it down a little bit unless there's any other questions. There's nothing on the closed session, so I'm going to move for a motion to adjourn. Who's up?
So
Motion
moved.
to adjourn.
All right, so we'll take it from Mayor Pro Tem McMillan on motion to adjourn around the table. Commissioner Simpson,
Commissioner Simpson, aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Commissioner Hall, aye.
Commissioner Westlake,
Commissioner Westlake, aye.
Commissioner Morey,
Commissioner Mori, aye.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Brenda McMillan, aye.
Very good. Again, thank you, everybody, for all your efforts and participation. Charlie, we have another first in the books for you, so I'm glad on that. So again, everybody have a safe evening, safe week, and we'll see you next time around. Good night.
Be safe, everybody, and good night.